What's up, dudes? Welcome to another episode of Otaku Underground. This time we got a little bit of something special for you for Valentine's Day. Filler!
The best thing ever.
Truly the greatest of all anime storytelling, bar none, hands down, the best. Oh yeah.
There are a few examples of truly good filler writing.
No, we'll get to that. So, but filler can best be described as filler more applies to like ongoing manga that are long, like Naruto and Dragon Ball Z. That's pretty much like the majority of my case for it. But anyway, filler is basically used so that the manga itself can get farther ahead of the anime, and there's more breathing room for the artist making the series, so they don't have to like rush because the anime is getting really close on them. So it's more a progression thing to act as a buffer for the manga artist himself.
Filler is basically necessary because the way anime works in Japan, for all four of you who don't know, is that for long-running series that are more than 13 or 26 episode series, they run year-round. They don't take breaks without exception for holidays and things like that, unless a special event is taking that anime's time slot for that day. They run it year-round without exception. So what that basically means is that they're also animating year-round and recording year-round. So if they didn't do filler in between to let the mangaka get some time to get ahead, they would have to run it the way American and Western shows do things, which is seasonal, which means they record 26 episodes or 13 episodes of a show, and then they let that air, and then they put it on hiatus for 3, 6, etc. months, or possibly even a year in some cases, until they're ready for the next season.
You know, I wouldn't be entirely opposed to that kind of structure for an anime. I mean, that would be pretty good.
I wouldn't either, except that I've seen what that does to most regular anime. Sometimes they don't get a second or third season until 2, 3, 4, even 5 years later. And
yeah.
When that happens, sometimes you can barely recognize the original product.
That's true, but that mostly has to. That would go into the territory of like some contractual agreements not being met, or like some artists changing hands and all the other stuff. So that more like implied technicality stuff.
Yeah. But
we're not really here to talk about politics today. We're here more to talk about what good filler anime is and what bad ones are. And like I said right off the bat, I did not enjoy probably half the filler in something like Naruto.
Well, the problem with the filler in Naruto is that they put 80 episodes of mostly single episode content, with the exception of 3 or 4 episode arcs in between. And for something, and when you want to branch a gap that big, you can't do that with something like that. It doesn't work to just have single episodic plots. It does not work. People complain about how long they are, but the filler in Bleach is a good example of doing it right. You need to bridge a gap. You have one long arc taking place in between that people can follow, see, get introduced to new characters, and like. If you do episodic, it doesn't work. People hate them, and then people complain like all hell.
Yeah. I'll say, I'll just give this a little personal experience for me. There's only one filler arc in Naruto that essentially killed the anime for me, and I stopped watching it altogether.
Original or Shippuden?
Shippuden.
And that would be?
That would be the Hunt for the Three Tails arc. Fucking hell, that thing was way too long.
Yeah, that's the one that pretty much drove everyone away.
Yeah.
That was like 20 episodes?
Yeah, I just want to get a little bit. This story's going to go somewhere, but bear with me. Back when I was still like watching the show, I watched like every single week, like pretty much only on subs though, because that was the only thing available at the time. And it was free too, so why the hell not? I would always watch that, and then the Hunt for the Three Tails arc hit. And I can understand, it's building up for what the Akatsuki are doing with hunting the tailed beasts down and all that good stuff. I mean, they have shown capturing almost every tail beast on the anime at some point or other. I mean,
that was the first one they went into detail on their specific hunts outside of Gaara and Yugito.
Yeah. The problem with this, though, is that, well, of course, it was way too fucking long. It was so stretched out, and there's so much unnecessary content just thrown in. Also, Kabuto was essentially the main villain again. How about that?
Well, no, there actually was some plot important details in that arc, it's just that they weren't revealed until the very end.
It just felt so self-indulgent in this one chick who was like just thrown in out of nowhere, the crystal user who by herself she's okay, but the problem is the filler played her up so much, and I just at some point I just gave up. I was just like, this is going nowhere. Our past 3 episodes we have literally explained nothing or done anything of significance, so that's basically what killed the anime for me.
I'll give you that. The anime does it terribly, but that arc in itself is actually very plot important to the manga because it revealed something about why the Mist Village was called the Bloody Mist and why people like Zabuza wanted to kill the Mizukage. And such.
I missed that apparently.
So that was that was important. Just the anime handled it really badly. That
yeah.
was the problem. That was important because it showed that Madara still had influence even years after his death.
Essentially, yeah.
Because in that arc, the Three Tails, what's his name, Yagura was under hypnosis or something by Madara's or Tobi's Mangekyo. He was
essentially, yeah.
He was under Sugiyumi or something, but that's for another day.
If that filler arc were even half as long, I probably would have seen it all the way through. But after about 4 months of just nonstop filler, I couldn't do it anymore. Which is a shame too, because the filler arc before that, the False Ninetales one or whatever it was, the one with Sora in it, that was actually really well done. I enjoyed the hell out of that because it characterized Asuma, which is something that was never done before.
That arc happened for a reason. That was supposed to get you really familiar with and to really like Asuma's character, because while he was cool beforehand, he never really did much of anything.
Yeah, he never had a moment.
So that was important to give him character, so that way you felt more in the next 10 or so episodes when he died.
Yeah, and I applaud him for that. I actually really like Asuma going into that, and it actually did hurt when I actually saw him go, which in hindsight it sucks because actually he turned out to be like one of my more favorite characters.
So that's filler that's done well. It wasn't terribly interesting on its own merit, but for what it did for Asuma, that was well done. I would give them that. It also actually gives credit, I think, towards Yamato, because I think the plot with that was that Yamato was also a monk once at that shrine or whatever.
He was?
I think so. It was either Yamato or Kakashi. One of them was also a monk there or something. With
that's pretty cool. I probably missed that part, yeah. But in general, what I define as really good filler is how it ties into the show, introduces really good characters that actually care for it, and it actually progresses at a pretty good rate.
And that is something that, generally speaking, Naruto does not have. The 80-episode chunk, like I said, was completely episodic. There were maybe 3 good episodes, and the rest was all meaningless crap that didn't do or mean anything. More often than not, it was either just random stupid shit going on in the village, or it was just, oh hey, Jiraiya's back for 2 days, let's go tag along and find one of Orochimaru's 85 hideouts.
Basically, there were only 3 moments of importance I actually found in that 8 episode arc, because I actually sat there and watched it for the entirety it was on Toonami, because I had nothing better to do because I was 10 years old. It was Hinata being in a waterfall, which, come on, I could not forget that ever.
Actually, that was one of the more important ones. I'll give you that. There were maybe 2 or 3 important moments.
Let's see, Kabuto ripping out his heart and threatening to kill himself and Sakura if Naruto didn't back down. Which, granted, was pretty fucking hardcore, and that was the only time in the show where it actually gave a graphic content warning before the episode actually started. That's why I remember that so much.
That and the final one would have to be the last 3-episode gap, which was a filler centered around Gaara and the Sand Village.
I actually missed that. The other thing that sticks out to me is Naruto throwing a Rasengan at one point during that filler arc. He did that. Everyone says that he only did that with Rasen Shuriken. I was like, no, dude. He actually did throw a Rasengan in the 80-episode filler arc.
Well, that wouldn't really qualify that, but I guess that works too.
It's just because it just sticks out so much. I was like, holy shit, he can throw Rasengans. And every time I told it to one of my friends, they didn't believe me because they weren't the ones who sat through that entire just like desolate desert of nothing but filler.
Well, can you blame them?
No, I honestly can't. But every now and then something interesting would happen, but it wasn't very often it did.
I'm going to say this right now. There are only 2 bits of that filler I honestly recommend you go watch. That would be the last 3 episodes of 217 through 220, which are, again, interesting and are about Gaara and at the point where he's good, but he still has some insane tendencies. Which is important for characterization going into the first 4 or 5 episodes of Shippuden for his battle with Datara. Those are important.
Yeah.
And episode 176 or 179 or something, I think it is, the best episode ever, Laughing Shino. The
Oh,
best.
oh God, that.
Ever.
How did I forget that?
The absolute best episode ever. Like, even if you don't watch Naruto, that is a standalone episode of any show is just beautiful. Just go watch it.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that until now. But now you mentioned, oh God, that was horrifying and awesome.
As for the rest of Naruto filler, on the other hand, once they hit Shippuden, they kind of had an idea for individual arcs going, and they had like 4 or 5 specific ones, but only 2 of them are even remotely memorable. In a good way, mind you. And that
the worst part of the filler for me in Naruto, now I look back objectively and actually look at like various episodes, they actually do full-on episodes from the first season and do it in Shippuden as filler arcs.
Exactly.
And I just want to vomit at that because I was like, you guys shouldn't like. Okay.
But there was like 4 or 5 roughly filler arcs in the Shippuden anime, and only 2 of them are even remotely well liked, and those are, excuse me, and those are the Sora arc, which we already talked about, and this arc with Utakata, the Six Tails, who was also a member of the Hidden Mist Village.
I actually did like that one, yeah. I remember going back to it at some point and watching that, and that was actually really nice because it was short and it actually gave that dude some character.
It gave him character. It was 5 or 6 episodes dedicated to him and his struggles with the village, I think also being an outcast, but also at the same time, he was kind of a dick, so either he didn't care or he was an ass back to them. He wasn't like Naruto in the fact that in the way that he was completely lonely and sad. He was actually a dick because of it, and it showed the actual one of the other ramifications about what happened to a person when your entire village hates you. The psychological effect: you hate me, I hate you back. Gaara's was that he didn't care at all, and that Naruto's was that he wanted friends desperately. So it shows one of the other most common reactions you'll have to everyone hating you, and that was important for developing him and developing the plot of the TLPs as a whole. Additionally, they give him character, which was important, and they also showed that he could be caring too. After those episodes, at the final episode, all 6, and this is like 2 or 3 episodes before Pain's invasion on the Hidden Leaf.
Yeah.
They showed all 6 Pains and Conan ready to attack him all at once, and he was actually willing to sacrifice himself to ensure the protection of the Hidden Mist Village once he finally realized he could care about it. So that was really important, and it showed also that Pain has honor too, and that he will accept their agreement. We will not harm your village if you come with us. So that was important, and that was the last time in Shippuden that they got filler done well and done well liked. After that,
so how'd it go after that? Because I remember that arc, and that was pretty cool, but what happened afterwards?
Directly after that was the Pain Invasion, which went on for I think 10 or 15 episodes with all the shit going on in the village, and then the 5 episode of Naruto and Nagato's monologue, which I swear to God felt like filler because of how slow it was. After that, after they get back to restoring the village, before the 5 Kage Summit, they take a 20 episode gap, which they had a name for it, I just forget what it was called, where they go back in time, not literally, just they have episodes from part 1, where they'll take and create story arcs from out of nowhere that would have fit into part 1 when Sasuke was still there and they were 12 instead of 16, and just run with that and do random crap with it. Like, one I remember specifically was one where Guy and Kakashi called out all of the kids that survived the preliminary Chunin exams and called them out to not the actual tournament itself, the preliminary exams, the first fight in the tower.
Yeah.
To go to this other tower to go climb up the tower and do something, and this is during the training, the 1-month training period, to go climb the tower, and if you do this and succeed and retrieve the item or some shit, you'll be worthy of passing the Chunin exams. It's a test of strength or some shit. And it was really boring and it was really stupid, and that was the only one I remember specifically. But they did shit like that for like 20 episodes.
I think I saw this one where they try to get almost like giving Kakashi like a love interest, but didn't see anything of that.
Yeah, better not to.
Yeah.
So they had 20 episodes of random crap. Then they went.
Hang on a sec. The only other filler in that, because I just kind of go back to it from time to time and watch random stuff. The only other one that sticks out to me at all is how Jiraiya beat this one ninja lady because there was like apparently a village out there being entirely a female ninjas.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I remember that.
Yeah. I actually did like that one a little bit because it was so silly, and actually, like, I like the idea of of a village full of females. I couldn't begin to understand why, but yeah. I remember that one because it still showed that Naruto still has a boner for Sakura, and I just immediately face text. I was like, what the fuck, why? But yeah, that one actually was kind of good because it was one episode, it was short, concise, and told the story pretty well.
And after that, they went into, whatchamacallit, they went into the Five Kage Summit and the beginning of the war. And what's annoying is that from time to time, in between, they'll still have these little episodic fillers in between big events. Like, there were some random episodic fillers between Naruto's training on Turtle Island to when the war actually began. Once the war began, they were relatively okay with how they did filler. Like, they just added other random characters that were dead or whatever, or that we've never heard of, which actually was a lot of them for the anime, for the war.
Yeah, you know, there was like this...
And I didn't mind that as much because it kind of made sense, because what's the point in only showing us dead characters we actually do know? I'm pretty sure there are hundreds, if not thousands, of other dead important people we've never seen. So that didn't really bother me as much. I could tolerate that. It made sense. And then they went, and then they did the fucking Chikara arc, which has the biggest plot hole I think I've ever seen.
Even though it does show Naruto in Seven Tails mode when he didn't master it yet. That looked pretty alright, but that's for another time.
That too. He did Tails that he'd never used before. But some of the fillers in there do create plot holes. And the plot hole of the Chikara arc was that Kabuto apparently somehow reanimated Hidan, even though Hidan was not dead. See, the thing about
he can't
Hidan
die,
is that he is fully immortal. Shown when Asuma cut off his head was still there. He just felt immense pain, obviously. So when Shikamaru blew him up into a bunch of little pieces, he was still alive, just in very many tiny pieces. Yeah. So you can't revive someone who's not dead, which also means that he would have been able to collect Hidan's remains from there, piece it back together with or without Kakuzu, and that also means he was able to get securely into that forest, which quote unquote Shikamaru is guarded entirely by the Nara clan. So yeah, I'm not believing that for a second. And they also apparently re-revived Deidara for like the third time. Yeah.
You know, I'm pretty sure we could just sit here all day nitpicking about bullshit filler that are in the Naruto series, but I think you guys get the general idea.
So
for the most part, there are some that are pretty cool, but most of them are just kind of either plot holes or just take themselves way too seriously for what they're trying to do.
Basically, the point of this is if it's episodic, don't watch it. If it has an actual arc going towards it that you can actually see, then watch it. The two of those that they have done are good. They're short, they're sweet, and they're generally pretty likable. Go for those. Do not go for the episodic, with the exception of Laughing Shino, because they are all absolutely pointless.
Except for the Three Tails one. Try ignore that. If not, just like skip episodes, because you're really not missing a lot with that one.
That's what I said. Skip that one.
Yeah, basically.
Moving on to one of the other more heavily based filler anime. We have Bleach.
Yeah.
Bleach
now, before we do this, I've only seen one filler arc in Bleach, mostly because I usually only watch the full fights, and I kind of stopped watching Bleach a while ago. And flavor just reading the manga. The one I did watch was the Balance arc, and after that, I'm just kind of skipped it all, or haven't watched it yet.
Well, I don't blame you, but see, the thing with Bleach is their main problem with their filler is that their filler is entirely too long. If you cut it down to about half its actual length, it would be perfectly fine and perfectly likable. They just waste a lot of time doing nothing. Especially the Bound arc. The first 20 or so episodes was spent basically wasting time and doing nothing. Introducing characters that were about to die, each one literally within 3 or 4 episodes, and showing that other people exist. And it's actually important to show that there are other species and such that exist in Bleach, outside of just souls, outside of just souls, living people, and other dead monsters. Now we have Germans.
Yeah, right?
Technically they were the second Germans in the Bleach series. But the problem with the Bound arc, like I said, is that it wastes time doing nothing. That arc is 46 episodes, and it is the most despised amount of time in Bleach as a whole. Because all the characters are either too weak or too boring or too stupid to be likable. The only one that is likable dies like 6 episodes after you meet her.
God.
So, also, a lot of this shit with the bounce just didn't make sense. The one thing it has going for it, technically, is that it is the only filler that can fit within the canon timeline. Because it's the only filler, the last one kind of does too, but it was the first and only filler to actually take place in a time where filler would make sense. The second filler, the new Captain Shusuke Yamagi arc took place literally an episode after Ichigo beat Grimjow. They just said at another time in another place.
Oh god, that. That's the last time that's when I stopped watching Bleach episodically on Adult Swim, because as soon as I did that, I was like, oh god damn, we're backpedaling. No.
So the problem with that was that they interrupted a fight to do that, and they did that like 3 times.
Ugh.
With this, it starts immediately after Ichigo gets back from Soul Society and ends right before the Arrancar starts showing up in the World of the Living. So that actually can take place within the canon timeline. It doesn't, but it can. So it works. And
so we're tapping into what do you do with the Dragon Ball Z movies now, but yeah.
Kind of. Also, the battles themselves were, for the most part, pretty boring. Only 2 of them are actually relatively memorable.
The Hall fight and Captain Amamagi himself.
No, in the Bound arc, only 2 fights are actually memorable.
I only remember the one machine chick being really, really hard to kill and really annoying, and the last fight itself.
Yeah, and I'm actually not well equipped to talk about the Bounce actually, because I haven't seen that since its original Toonami run, or Adult Swim run, back in 2009.
I was lucky because by the time I started actually watching Bleach, it was well past that, so I just sat down and marathoned the entire thing.
Oh, how convenient.
Yeah, right?
The next filler, like I said, takes place literally right after the episode where Ichigo beats Grimjow. It's called the new Captain Shusuke Yamagi arc, and what I like about this arc is that it's only 22, 23 episodes long, which is much better than 46, and it takes place half the time in the World of the Living. But it doesn't introduce a new species or anything, or any new bullshit mechanics that you need to worry about. It's literally just Soul Reapers and Soul Reapers. There are no Hollows, there's none of that.
Huh.
So it's an internal affair type of thing. What happens in that arc is... Actually, that's kind of hard to explain too, but that's more because it's complicated in a way that actually does make sense.
We have Soul Edge knockoffs.
Roughly, yeah. These people come... A princess and her 2 guards come to the World of the Living because, in hiding, because she's a princess, and some of the members of her family are trying to kill her, so that way they can claim the throne or something to be in absolute power. It's pretty traditional storytelling, but it's actually done pretty well. He's just a power-hungry, greedy old man, of course, but the characters themselves are pretty interesting. The battles are nice because it introduces new types of weapons and new types of fighting styles that I particularly like. These weapons that can actually get stronger based on your spiritual energy. If they just eat part of your energy a little, they will get infinitely stronger. And it's different from just having a regular Zanpakuto, because that requires you to tap in and master your power for it to work. This is just an instant power up, and I like that, and like the idea that that they have other ways out of working hard. Not because I'm lazy, although I am, but just the idea that there are people that actually have thought about quick power-ups. Because being real, in a world like that, who is not going to think of the quickest way to get strong?
Basically, yeah.
And in addition to that, the fights are pretty good, the locations are interesting, the humor is pretty good, and the characters themselves are just really interesting. I don't really know how to describe it.
Yeah. Captain Amagi himself actually did appear in Bleach vs. Crusade, and I'm not sure if that's his only game appearance. Okay.
But that happened because that was the most recent filler arc to happen when that game came out. Because that game came out right around the same time as the second half of the Wake Up Mundo arc was.
Yeah, hence why we actually see Grimjow's resurrection, but we don't see Ulquiorra. So it's like right in that time frame.
Well, to be more specific, this is happening as we're seeing in the anime, Neutra's resurrection.
Oh yeah, that's right. I think we got that in the game too. Yeah.
We did. As a personal side note, Versus Crusade is the only game to actually get Neutra's resurrection correct.
Still on about that, huh?
I'm never gonna forget that. I don't care if it's been like 5 years. I'm never gonna forget that.
Okay.
But so the arc itself was pretty interesting. The fights were pretty good. There are new weapons, there are new fighting styles, and this and it shows that when a character desires revenge or something, or that they want, or they fight for hatred, they actually have a reason to fight.
Yep.
Because this arc also ties in directly to Head Captain Yamamoto, and this got him to a point where he's normally, no matter what your argument is, no matter what you're doing, you're wrong, I don't care if you're right, you're wrong. He's one of those types of people, and this character...
I love Yamamoto's mentality so much sometimes.
He basically is just an old man.
So one-dimensional, it's so funny.
But this was actually important because this character, the main villain of this arc, was the only character to ever get him to actually accept he was wrong, and almost got him to say, "Fine, you can have your revenge on me."
Really?
And the funny thing about that, though, is that the weapon that they have was able to completely negate the power of Yamamoto's Zanpakuto. So if Ichigo hadn't stepped in, he could have killed him.
Shit, that's pretty
cool. He could legitimately have killed him. So that's important too. This guy was fucking strong.
Oh yeah.
But this arc also showed the importance and the true strength of Ichigo's hollow power as well, and how it's important that he has more power than just being a Soul Reaper, because if he didn't have that, he would have lost and died just as well.
Oh, most likely, yeah.
So they put a lot of emphasis on his hollow powers as well.
I like to point out that also that filler arc has one of the more popular fights in the series, which is the Hollow Ichigo versus Zangetsu one.
That's a different...
Which, to be fair, I've watched it, and it actually is pretty cool.
You're thinking of a different arc.
I am?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You're
That's
thinking
the
of the next arc. The Zanpakuto Rebellion. Easily the most popular filler in all of Bleach.
Yeah, true.
And the second longest. Clocking in at 36 episodes, I think.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, only 25 of them are actually important. The first 25. The story of that arc is that a Soul Reaperless Zanpakuto by the name of Muramasa, named after an actual legendary Japanese sword, has appeared in the Soul Society, and the day he appears, all the Soul Reapers no longer are able to command or control their Zanpakutos. They don't wake up, they don't respond to their commands, and they're basically just stuck with their regular swords. They can't go Shikai, they can't go Bankai. They're basically fucked if they get into a real fight.
Essentially, yeah.
In the first episode, Muramasa appears before every Soul Reaper ever and says that we're rebelling from your oppression, and we're going to kill all of you. And what happens in the next 20 episodes is almost exactly that. All of the Soul Reapers fight humanized, manifested forms of their Zanpakuto. And this is very important because it's character building for just about everyone. Because all the characters, all the Soul Reapers, all the lieutenants and captains and such that you never really learn all that much about, you learn more about their personality from the shape and form, and in most cases actually gender, of their Zanpakuto spirit. It teaches you about them, the way they fight, the way their mentality, and whether or not they truly are loyal to their master, even after they are reclaimed by them. It shows the relationship, and that's important for character building in a world like this. So that was really important. It also shows what happens to Ichigo when Zangetsu, the one controlling Hollow Ichigo and keeping him in order, gets taken out. Let's just say the results are less than pleasant.
It's pretty ugly, yeah.
Ichigo, for the first and only time ever, outside of the one time it happened in the anime, turns into the hollow form that's not quite his Basto Lorde form, the form with the tail and the horns and the shit.
Yeah, he looks like just a giant dinosaur at that point.
I would have said a lizard, but that works too.
Yeah.
It's the most demonic and by far the least appealing and most ugly form of them all.
It's ugly, yeah, but that's because I like to think of this as like Hollow Ichigo and like fully like manifesting, but also just raw power, just like all out. So it's more a form of like just pure power, no concentration in the form. That's always what I thought of it.
I suppose that works. He didn't really start concentrating until he got to his second hollow form.
Yeah, I always thought of this as more like Fall Super Saiyan from the Lord Slug movie, where it's there, but it's just like entirely there.
That's a pretty good way to put it. But so
yeah.
But so the gimmick of what happens is that if the Soul Reaper themselves can beat their Zanpakuto in combat, they'll reclaim their Zanpakuto and be able to use their Shikai and Bankai again. However, if the Zanpakuto who is defeated by anyone else that is not that person and is broken, they lose their Zanpakuto forever.
Well, balls.
Mind you, it doesn't actually happen to any of the important people, of course, but because that would cause some troubles in canon.
Yeah, that would cause some problems.
But this arc was all around pretty impressive because it had a really good plot going. The fights were all for the most part really great. It showed how the characters, what they have to do when they have to resort to only using Kido or only using the regular swords because they don't have their powers. It's like, what do you do in a situation of desperation?
Yeah.
So that's important.
And also, in my opinion, some of the Zanpakuto human designs they come up with are actually really cool to look at.
They really are. Some of them look really great.
Yeah, like, immediate ones that come to mind for me are Soda no Shirayuki, whatever, no, it wasn't Kaname. Who was the dude with a 69 on his face again? I can never remember his name. Shuhei, that was it. I like his because the face on his Zanpakuto looked like it's something out of Teen Titans. And Renji's, that was just, like, the most interesting for me. I don't remember dating a woman that hairy.
You finally looked that up, did you?
Yeah, I did. And I just remember from the playthrough entirely.
But so yeah, a lot of them look pretty great. Some of my particular favorites are, like you said, Sode no Shirayuki, Kyorimaru, what was it called? What was Byakuya's Zanpakuto?
Senbo and Sakura.
That one.
That it's like a bunch of samurai armor.
Yeah, it has a bunch of samurai armor, but of course, once you take it off, he's a Bishonen.
I missed that part.
That happens in one of the extra filler episodes that happens at the end.
Yeah. Of course, needless to say, my favorite Zanpakuto design is still Zangetsu, without a question.
He is still pretty much the most badass looking of them all.
And the coolest look, and the coolest voice, too. It's just overall the demeanor, but I'm more a fan of the old form instead of the younger form.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to take Tensa seriously when he looks...
Yeah, especially when he just looks like a makeup-less version of Ukiura.
That works too, although the general consensus is what would happen if Ichigo and Rukia finally had a kid.
Actually, I like that one more.
So the battles are good, the characters are very interesting. Muramasa himself is actually a very interesting character too, even if his
I like his design too. He looks like a different version of the Crow and just got stuck in Bleach.
Yeah. He is a pretty interesting character, even if I have to admit, a lot of his cool points are kind of reduced when you actually find out his motivation.
Oh yeah, that's right. What's his motivation again?
His motivation is that a couple hundred years ago, Byakuya's uncle, yes, his uncle, his uncle that married into the family, Koga Kuchiki, was lieutenant under Byakuya's grandfather. I forget his name, Kuchiki, but he was important too.
It's always the fucking Kuchikis, Jesus.
This is actually the only and most important part because this ties directly into the Kuchiki lineage, directly with Byakuya, Rukia, and his grandfather.
Huh. Well, that's interesting.
Damn it, connection problems.
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude, what happened to your connection?
There it is. You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. But so, he's in the running to become the next captain because the grandfather is getting on in years and his bones are starting to creak and he's getting old and such. He went for a Soul Reaper, so he's looking to pass him on as the next captain. The problem with that though is that he's reckless and not terribly smart. Muramasa's power is that he can take control of other people's Zanpakuto and release them from their Soul Reapers.
That's an incredibly specific power when you think about it.
It basically is kind of useless against an Arankar or a Hollow or a human.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of funny. He gains most of his power by eating Hollows.
That, yeah.
He kind of has the Menos mentality. Eat a Hollow to gain their power. But, so, his power is that he can remove a Zanpakuto from their master and hypnotize them into killing their master. And it works out pretty well until people realize that his power is demonic and that they think that he's going to go insane with that power. So three random nobodies, damn it, what's the word? Frame him for murder, and he's for murder of a squad member, and so he's immediately barred from becoming captain. And no one believes that he didn't do it, and so he has to go and prove his honor. But he fails in doing that too, so he's immediately just incredibly angry and hates everyone because he's about to be captain. He actually was a nice and good guy, but he got fucked over because some random guys didn't like him. So he starts hating them, hating everyone, and he starts getting incredibly strong because of his hatred. Because of this, he loses control of Muramasa, and he's no longer able to hear him. Muramasa separates into his own deity, unbeknownst to him, and unbeknownst to Muramasa himself, actually. So they don't know what the hell's going on, but they've separated. All the while, his hatred is making him incredibly strong. He's actually challenging to even Captain Yamamoto and previous Captain Kuchiki. So much so that they cannot kill him. They try to, but they can't. They have to seal him in a tree in the world of the living.
And that tree happened to get chopped down by some chance?
Nope. That tree happened to be unsealed because Muramasa's plan the whole time was to steal the energy of the Zanpakutos and create energy by having them fight. Kind of like creating energy for Majin Buu with the cocoon and all of that, just create energy for it to be released. When he had enough energy, he was able to go to the world of the living and release him from that, release his master from that seal. And the first thing that happens is he breaks him. His master, Koga, he breaks Muramasa.
Wow.
Because he hated it, because he immediately grew to even hate his Zanpakuto when he wouldn't respond to his commands to help him when he was being sealed.
Nice.
So he breaks him, and immediately he has a fight with Byakuya because Kuchiki pride. If Koga still keeps going on with what he's doing, with killing random people, it will ruin the legacy of the Kuchiki family, and they cannot be unblemished. So
yeah, true.
So they fight, and it's awesome. And just the world looks like it's basically about to explode because of their powers, and Muramasa somehow manages to recraft himself, and then Ichigo fights him in Muramasa's own world. And that's pretty cool. And it ends there with Muramasa attaining some sort of inner peace as he breaks. As he shatters for real for the final time.
For reals this time, yeah.
For realsies.
Alright. So yeah, when you explain it like that, I can see why this would probably be the most liked amongst all the Bleach filler arcs. It does actually sound really cool, and I should probably go give it a look at some point.
You really should. It's out, it's dubbed. The dub is great for it. And it's really good. The fights are great, and there are a lot of fights you would not expect to see. Like 4 spirits at once go challenging Kenpachi, and well, the result is as you would expect.
Yeah. All of the super armor. Oh yeah.
And the fights are just really great. You see some of by far the best ones in this series.
Cool.
And it's at this filler when I can actually say, it's kind of sad to say when at the same time, your plot of your filler is better than the plot of your actual manga.
Splendid. Well, to be fair, at this point in manga, it's basically just been Ichigo climbing the Tower of Power and just beating anything in his path.
Actually, this filler takes place right after... I think pretty much right after everything happens with Noitra and Kenpachi and all that. And they're showing what's happening in fake Karakura town. So this is like right when shit's starting to happen in the city. Like before Ichigo fights Ulquiorra, like all that before that starts.
Yeah.
So before everything goes all to hell.
So it's a good anime content before more good anime content. That's pretty nice.
It really is. And what's nice about that, though, is that the animation team took an especially long time and a special amount of care in crafting that filler.
Nice.
So much so that they actually got Taikubo to design and draw, as well as animate, all of the Zanpakuto spirits that appeared in that arc.
Oh, that's cool.
They don't normally do that for filler, take the extra effort to get the actual creator in on this.
Yeah.
And what's also nice about this is that they did this instead of animating a movie that year. If they didn't, they would have had their 4th movie be that year instead of having it be the following year.
All right.
And for a 25 episode filler arc that is that good, that impressive, and that well animated, I'd say it was pretty good that we got that instead of just an hour and a half movie.
Sweet.
After that, though, we climb into a really, really unfortunately boring sequel to that arc that takes place over the next 10 episodes, where they go into the idea of what happens to the Zanpakuto of Soul Reapers who died during that time. The Zanpakutos are all freed, but
they're running amok. Yeah,
but they're running amok. They're destroyed, and they have no idea what the hell they're supposed to do. So basically, at this point, they're turning into hollows or something. I don't quite remember. I made it a point, and this is the only time I've ever done this. I made it a point to skip that arc of Bleach.
Wow.
It was a really hard 3 months to skip, but I did it, and all for the better.
Congrats. I haven't continued watching Naruto in about 2 years.
No, but this is different though. This is when I was in my prime for Bleach.
Huh.
This is when I was importing games. So at that point, that was really hard for me to do. To take a break for something I was that into.
Yeah.
But basically nothing happens there. It's just, oh, we're connecting with our spirits again. They're going to come back inside our bodies or whatever. They're connecting and et cetera, et cetera. It's pretty boring, I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
The final filler arc, the clone invasion arc, takes place, and again, is the only other filler arc that can canonically happen, kind of. Takes place after Ichigo beats Aizen, during the downtime before the Fullbring arc.
Oh yeah, this. I'm murder piecing anime around here.
Because the way Ichigo's loss of power is explained actually does work for it. They didn't need to tweak it. What Rukia said to Ichigo after he woke up was that his power is that gradually his power would fade away. Not that it would happen immediately, not that you've already lost your power, that you've been asleep for a month and your power is gradually going to fade.
Damn.
And so they make good use of this, because if his power is going to fade but it's not already gone, we can get some more filler in there. And they do, and it's good. This arc takes place right after that happens, and the basic plot of this is random character number X that appears in just this arc appears naked in the city, and Cone finds her, because of course that has to be Cone finding a naked girl in the streets.
Yeah, how about that?
Finds her, takes her home. Rukia examines her and finds out that even though she's unconscious and almost dead or something, she has an incredible abundance of spiritual power.
Huh.
This arc actually takes a plot point from the very beginning of the series, expands on it dramatically, and makes Cone a main character.
Oh, this, yeah.
Let me repeat this. They make Cone a main character. A very important, very deep, not very strong, but very important character.
Splendid.
When you can do this for a character that was designed literally for comic relief, you are doing a good job. A very good job. But I haven't done much explaining, so I suppose I should do that. She appears there, and immediately a bunch of clones of Soul Reapers that are near indistinguishable from the actual Soul Reapers appear in the town and start attacking everyone.
Huh.
This is bad because it means you can't tell friend from foe, and you never know who, when, or where you're going to be attacked. So they start attacking them, and they don't know what's going on at first until the leader of these clones, Kage Rosa Inaba, appears before them trying to kidnap the girl, because apparently she has some mystic power or some item inside her that will grant absolute control of the Precipice world, the little tunnel connecting Soul Society and the world of the living.
Yeah.
This is important for some reason, because if you don't have that, you'll either be stuck in there forever, or there's no connection. And considering the Soul Reaper's jobs, yeah, that's pretty important.
That'd be a problem, yeah.
So he wants her because he wants to use her to complete his experiments, to have control over it, and have absolute control of the Soul Society or something. I don't remember the actual plot, but it's actually airing right now on Toonami, so give it a look. It definitely has some of the best fights, or at least most well-animated fights and most interesting ones.
It's got Kenpachi versus Kenpachi. I think that's reason enough to go watch it.
Damn right. So the clones appear, and they're fighting everyone. Everyone's fighting themselves. It's pretty damn awesome. The only character, to my knowledge, they haven't made a clone of is Ichigo, and that's because hollow powers.
Yeah, that would be a problem, yeah.
But so the plot of the arc is that this man, the villain here, is the creator of excuse me, of the soul candy, the thing that Cone is, the mods, the thing that makes it so the bodies of a Soul Reaper that is out of their Gigai doesn't look like it's dead in the middle of the street.
Huh, true.
And in most cases, actually, given their original purpose, gives them fighting ability, so that way they have more aid in combat. Not many people remember this, but Cone, when placed in the proper body, is actually relatively strong. He was built to have incredible leg strength, so he can kick a Hollow to death, and he has a couple times in the first
I missed
season.
that part.
Yeah, that's one of the first 6 or 7 episodes. But so that's important, so that these are combat created, and damn it. And so they're really strong, and after heavy modifications, this man has created exact clones of the Soul Reapers themselves, as strong,
Jesus.
if not stronger than them. So it forces everyone themselves to get stronger and prove themselves and pride and shit. We're stronger than the originals. No clones will ever beat the real thing. That sort of thing. And the conflict between them is not terribly interesting, but the fights more than make up for that. The real plot is with the girl, Nozomi Kujo, who is the key to both the Precipice world and the Mod Soul thing.
Huh.
Because she was the first ever created, and thus is, I believe, I don't remember exactly, the strongest and the most important. He needs her to get her to, like I said a few minutes ago, achieve absolute power. And it's this whole dichotomy of Fracone, of an existential crisis. I'm looking upon the face of my creator, but you don't care about us. We're disposable to you. We're trash to you. I want to kill you, but damn it all, I don't have the power. I'm too weak.
Yeah.
Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it!
One of those things.
And it's actually, again, it's really important for his character, because the main character of this arc, he's basically Cone.
Yeah.
And it's the same way for others, too. And also, the character himself is also... No. He's layered, but he's not like Muramasa. He's not the kind of villain you can actually care about or like. He's not the, whatchamacallit, sympathetic villain. He's not the sympathetic villain. He has something of a tragic backstory, but it's not nearly tragic enough to make you actually care.
Ah, that's sweet. Jeez.
That's one thing. The only thing about tragic backstory villains is they can either make or break a series, and more often than not, they break a series. So avoiding that, I suppose, was all for the better. He's basically made to be generic, greedy. I'm going to get this. I'm going to achieve my desires, because everyone ever has said that I'm no good, or that my inventions are terrible, or that I need to stop, or that I'm going insane or something. But no, fuck everyone. I'm going to do it anyways. And also, this arc is very important because it shows the limits of Ichigo's power. More than once does he lose his powers and get them back.
Oh, wow, really?
Yes.
How does he lose them? Is that because of the whole Mugetsu thing, or is that just like random stuff?
It's the power, it's the fact that he's just incredibly overexerting himself. His power is fading. If he uses his Bankai more than a couple times, it'll be gone just like that.
Oh, wow.
So basically, for the most part, he's forced into using only his Shikai. That's all he can use without exerting too much energy.
Jeez.
So basically, it basically means that, with the exception of 3, maybe 4 fights in the whole arc,
His Bankai using energy. That's cute.
Ichigo takes a backseat role for the majority of this arc.
It's actually kind of interesting, yeah.
He only gets 3 or 4 fights. Mind you, they're very big and very important, but he's not terribly important to the arc as a whole.
No.
And of course, in the end, it's like, he gets her, he becomes perfect and all powerful and whatever. And it's kind of the sort of thing where it's like, he absorbs her to get her power or something because he needs her in his body or some shit.
Some random cell bullshit, yeah.
Not like Cell, just something like that anyways.
Alright.
Basically merges with her.
I'm still kind of disappointed they haven't put Ichigo's final Getsuga Tensho form again in other fillers, like how he was against Aizen. not the Mugetsu form where he like becomes the Getsuga Tensho itself, like where he's just missing the sleeves and he has really long ass sword.
Well, that's not really a form. That's just what happens when his shirt gets cut and his hair grows out. So technically, he's like that in the entire filler arc. It's just that his one enemy is apparently scaling to him.
Oh, okay. I just think that if you have that version of Ichigo in like more filler arcs, I think that makes the series a lot more interesting. Because then it basically be like Dragon Ball Z, but I think that'd be a cool thing.
Probably.
Yeah.
So this arc is interesting and has by far some of the most well-animated fights in the series, some pretty intense ones, where, for example, Byakuya, Kenpachi, and Toshiro are all fighting this villain at once, and they cannot beat him.
Wow, really?
Yeah, so it's really good. They have 3, 4, 5-on-1s, and they just cannot take him down. And what's also interesting is that they also give fights to other characters who have not had fights in forever.
Wow.
Ikaku, Renji... Fuck, they give Chad a fight or two.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so that's good. They show other characters off and etc. And it's really interesting to see the thoughts, views, and perspective of the clones themselves.
Yeah, that's right.
Like for example, some of them are just like, no, I'm better than you. I'm not going to be beaten by you. And then they have other ones that are like, very well, you're better than me. I can accept that.
Huh.
And then they have the other ones that are prideful, of course. Byakuya versus Byakuya, as you'd expect it to be.
Man, I could actually want to watch that right now because that sounds like it'd be really fun.
I've recorded the majority of that on my DVR.
Cool.
And so, where was I? Oh yeah. So he's absorbed her into him, and Ichigo's fighting him. And for the longest time, he's holding back because he thinks there's a way to get her out, to get her back. So he can't go full on, he can't go serious, he can't go Bankai because he thinks that if he hurts him, he's going to hurt her. And somehow telepathically she's able to tell him, no, I don't care, just kill him. I don't care if it kills me. This guy's going to destroy Soul Society or the universe or whatever.
Yeah.
And after like an hour of that, Ichigo finally says, fuck it, I'm just going to go ahead and kill him.
Nice.
And they do that pretty well.
No rice going over at all, just full on kills him.
Well, he beats him, and she explodes out of his chest or something, I think. But she dies anyways because too much of her power or life force or energy or whatever the fuck has been consumed by him.
Huh.
So she dies or fades into fairies or whatever anyways.
Yeah.
But that's to be expected. She's a filler character. Of course she's not going to survive.
That's true. But they have had filler characters survive before.
Yes, but they ended up not doing anything, and they're pretty despised.
True.
Like the dolls, the little toys.
Yeah.
The ones from the Bound arc. People hate those characters. And it's not hard to see why. They are pretty stupid and pretty useless.
Except the steel one. That one was just able to take hits like no one's business. And actually ended up wrecking more house than the main character himself in that arc. Funny how you look at it in hindsight.
Yeah.
So overall, I think we can conclude that majority of Bleach filler arcs are actually pretty well done.
They're pretty good. They're pretty long. You just have to be willing to sit through them. They take a little bit of time to get started, but when they get going, oh damn, did they get going? They're some of the best fights ever.
Yeah.
And that one with the clone invasion is pretty good because it starts off with one of Ichigo's best fights ever. At least in terms of animation. It's not terribly grand, it doesn't last very long, but in terms of animation, it's by far one of his best fights.
Cool.
So they're pretty good, they're pretty long, and pretty story-driven. If you can get into that or give them 4 or 5 episodes, you're in for something great.
Sweet.
Especially the Muramasa one. 3 episodes into that is when Ichigo turns into his hollow form.
No shit.
Yeah, that happens like 3 episodes in.
Nice.
So if you can give all of them, with the exception of the Bound arc, a little bit of patience, they get real good, real fast. I recommend all 3 of them if you're just looking to pass time.
Awesome.
The Captain Shusuke Magi one, I've gone and rewatched like 4 times.
Sweet. Alright.
But yeah, that's how Bleach does it, and they do it well. They're just too long. Is the one criticism I have for Bleach.
All right. Well, I guess
else?
I should go ahead and cover the series I was going to talk about, and I'm pretty sure you know what I'm about to cover with the anime.
Go for it.
Dragon Ball Z.
Naturally.
Yeah, naturally. However, Dragon Ball Z is very unique with how it handles filler because it only places filler in places where it needs time to give whoever the guy was making Dragon Ball Z. I forgot the name off the top of my head.
Akira Toriyama.
Toriyama, yeah. So he can get like some time in order to like fill it out, but also other times, yeah, this music is a little loud. Other times they usually do Dragon Ball Z fill art other movies. I guess the best example, like arc.
Oh yeah.
This is probably like the biggest filler arc they've had in Dragon Ball Z, and on top of being only one of the few that actually happened. But it's actually really interesting because this.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. Hold on a sec. The filler arcs in DBZ, the actual arcs that there are, all 2 of them, are also relatively short by most anime standards. I don't think any of them is more than 10 episodes.
Oh
long.
no, not
so
even.
So that's key to keep in mind. Is that the actual arc fillers in Dragon Ball Z are very short.
Yeah.
So they're easily watchable in one sitting.
So anyway, the cool thing about the Otherworld Tournament arc is that the new character introduced there, Paikon, they kind of go on to throw him into other things that appear in the show, like Future Reborn. He's thrown into the movie. They even have him reappear later on when Kid Boo's like teleporting between planets and killing a bunch of other dudes. He briefly appears there, and Paikon himself is not originally from the manga, nor did has the Otherworld Tournament happen. It was entirely anime exclusive, but to be fair, the characters were designed by Toriyama himself, which, of course, you can imagine they got. I think the Dragon Ball Wiki says that the animators just were like, if you need help drawing Paikon, just use Piccolo as reference. That's about it. Literally, that's exactly how they drew Paikon. But yeah, every time they do a filler arc in Dragon Ball Z, all 3 of them, they end up being pretty well done and don't occupy too much time. They're just there to like space some time out and get some more content out.
3.
Yeah, I don't know if Gohan going to high school was actually filler or not.
No, that was canon. They just drew it out to be longer. But it was canon.
All right. There was also some filler that happened back in the year of training before the Saiyans arrived, like with the Saiyans are running around one planet and just blowing it the hell up.
Oh yeah, that was a single episode, but that was actually very important to get into the mindset of Vegeta and Nappa's character.
Yeah,
they'll free an entire race from slavery,
and then kill them all right afterwards, just for shits and giggles of it.
Only to destroy them in the end.
It's funny how it works. And also, there's a bit. What other filler are there in the series? But definitely the Garlic Jr. saga, but that's only like 6 episodes long, 7 episodes, and that's like not really that interesting to talk about, but it's alright.
Pretty bland.
It's pretty bland. Everyone gets turned into vampires. Gohan blows Majin Buu back into the dead zone again, which kind of solidifies Garlic Jr. as the biggest dumbass in the entire series.
Sorry, what?
Garlic Jr. gets blown into the dead zone twice from Gohan, solidifying him as the biggest dumbass in the show. No, really. The one thing that could possibly end him, he does it twice, and Gohan's the cause of both times. It is great. Yeah, I can't really get into too much into detail about each individual filler arc because they're not very long or they're not very worthwhile to talk about or the last one episode. Not like Bleach, where it's like full-on arcs they just thrown out of nowhere.
Well, they'll have the occasional single episode things every here and there, like the best one ever.
Piccolo and Goku learning how to drive.
Seriously, that is the best episode ever.
Oh, absolutely. That is still pretty damn awesome.
I think they have 2 or 3 other individual episodes, but other than that, they're pretty standard.
Yeah, the only other thing of filler that actually comes to mind right off the top of my head is Vegeta flying between planets in his training to become Super Saiyan, look for Goku.
That actually
it happened. And it was also from there that... Alright, actually I should probably just mention this right now. There is a severe discontinuity between the anime and the manga. And you know where I'm going with this. Yeah. And in the anime and all the filler that they're throwing there, they say Saiyans can't breathe in space, but we've had multiple instances where they can.
Movies don't count.
Not movies. Not even movies.
What then?
For one, Vegeta and Nappa blowing up the planet, Vegeta flying between 2 planets, and literally on a desolate rock in space in his search for Goku. He's literally just chilling there in the vacuum of space, just like, darn it, why can't I find Kakarot?
Again, that's filler, though.
Exactly,
so
that's why I'm saying this.
Manga is word of God.
Basically, but there's always a severe discontinuity between the two that Despite Frieza saying Saiyans can't breathe in space, there have been multiple instances where they can. Which is, again, I guess you could say it's a giant plot hole, but I'm not going to hold against anyone if they say Saiyans really can't breathe in space.
Well, Battle of Gods has been confirmed as canon, and Goku does fight Bills in space.
Great.
So I'm not going to hold that against you either.
Alright.
The one thing, the thing that DBZ is infamous for in terms of its filler is not its actual arcs or episodes. It's that they incredibly dramatically increase the times of actual character fights.
Yeah, the one that comes to mind immediately is Gotenks.
Goku versus Frieza.
Oh, that too. Wait, really?
That Goku versus Frieza was like, I think 4 hours you sent me a video of, but that is an encapsulation of 19 episodes of Goku versus Frieza alone.
Yep.
Kai, on the other hand, cut that down to I think like 5 or 6.
Yeah, that's because Kai. I actually did a little bit of insight into it. I've noticed the way Kai cuts up fights is they either remove like extended shots in a single fight, or they just remove some things entirely, like certain lines of dialogue, certain scenes that are relatively pointless, and so on. So it's a matter of editing. That's how they cut down a lot of stuff that goes on in Dragon Ball Z.
So they expanded out dramatically because at that point Toriyama was not finished with the whole Namek saga, so they needed to really draw that out so that he could get his ass in gear with the Android saga.
Really?
Yeah, because think about that. That's 19 episodes. That's roughly 5 months.
That's true. I actually didn't know how he's still doing the Namek saga in the middle of the anime being aired.
Yeah, the anime came pretty quick. What happens normally when a manga has a sequel is they wait a couple years. Nope, with Dragon Ball and Z, it was literally the very next one.
Oh, Jesus.
So they didn't give him nearly enough time. They didn't even need to give him a full year. Just give it like 6 months.
Yeah, but
9 months.
As a good trade-off, the Goku and Frieza fight is also one of the best animated in the entire show. Not necessarily as in like it's pretty or it's got good effects, more along the lines of it's got some of the best choreography, some of the best set pieces, memorable moments that go on, such as Frieza locking Goku in the ball, just using him as a volleyball. Let's see, there's that. There's Goku firing off like 2 Kamehameha waves at Frieza from the bottom of the ocean and then blindsiding him. It's got some really good memorable moments going for it. So the way, even though they stretched it out,
it wasn't bad. It was just horribly long.
I'd say that example of a fight being terribly drawn out is probably the certain parts of Gohan versus Cell.
Oh God! Yes.
All right, let me elaborate on this. In one episode, it was right after Gohan was introduced as Super Saiyan 2 and did some melee stuff against Cell, and he was way too fast for him. The episode after that, Cell is basically shitting bricks over Gohan being so much stronger than him. So in that one episode, Cell did all of like 5 attacks, and that was the end of it. Literally.
I've seen worse. Later on in that same episode, you remember the Kamehameha struggle?
Yeah.
Did you watch that in Kai?
Yeah, I watched it in Kai. Definitely cut down, but still pretty lengthy.
You know how that only took like 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Well, in the original, it took like 4 episodes, and one of those episodes was literally just the entirety of a flashback from Cell, where he flashbacks from everything that happens from the moment of his creation to where he is now.
Yep. Which no one's uploaded that to YouTube, by the way. I'm surprised by this.
Well, it's probably been taken down, but it's definitely been there.
Oh yeah.
It's an entire episode as a flashback dedicated to Cell's entire story. And at that point, I think that was also one of the episodes that had one of Trunks' false flashbacks to his past, even though he was dead or something.
Really? I missed that one.
I think they might have. They had someone flashing back to the future.
Flashing back to the future.
Probably Cell, but I wouldn't be terribly surprised if it was one of Trunks' flashbacks.
Most likely, yeah. Even though Trunks was dead on the ground at that point. But yeah. The giant Kamehameha wave beam struggle with Gohan and Cell, I didn't think it was so bad, although it's taking 4 episodes. Yeah, that's pretty bad. I think it was an entire DVD, actually.
Probably.
Yeah.
At least back in the original, anyways. And the next one, the absolute worst they ever got, the entirety of the Majin Buu saga.
Ugh.
I shit you not, 75% of that anime was filler. 75%.
Really?
Yes. 75% of that. You can cut that down. But yeah, if starting that off from the moment Gohan starts going to high school, that is literally over 100 episodes. You can cut that down to 20.
Shit.
20, 25, maybe 30 if you're pushing it. It was almost entirely filler, again, because, well, trying to catch up and trying not to catch up and being slow intentionally and making fights last forever.
Yeah.
You know, Gotenks' fight with Boo originally only spanned 3 or 4 chapters, but they made it take like 7 episodes.
Majin Vegeta finding Boo?
No, Gotenks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that did actually take quite a while.
That took like 7 episodes, even though it was only like 3 or 4 chapters.
Yeah. The entire first part of that, too, you told me before, but Gotenks fighting in base form was just like... that was entirely anime-based.
Yes. Well, no, actually the 2 times, because the first time he does that was the first time he fused ever. He fought Majin Buu, and that was entirely filler. That was like 2 episodes. The second time he did that inside the time chamber was literally just to waste time, and against Super Buu, and that was again just to waste time, just to waste 15 minutes of an episode.
Jesus.
So they wasted a lot of time doing absolutely nothing.
As far as the other episodes go, or the other fights, I think Goku and Vegeta was actually done pretty well.
That was done well only because the fight in the manga was horrendously short. I'll give them that. They did a good job with that one, because the manga fight itself was mostly skipped over.
Yeah, okay, that is actually pretty good to space out. And that is also everyone's favorite fight in that story arc, too.
Another one that's particularly bad is when when Super Buu absorbs Vegito. In the manga, it's like 5 pages from when he gets absorbed to when he finds the pods with Gohan, Trunks, Goten, and Piccolo.
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4.
In the anime,
yeah.
it's like 4 episodes of exploring his body from his stomach to his head.
Yeah.
They travel. They fucking travel.
I know. Although as concept by itself, it was more meant for like humor instead of like being ultra serious. Because really, if you're doing that, you should probably just blast your way up to the head, because Boo is bound to know you're in there anyway.
Yeah, well, he did, and they made one of those episodes was entirely a fight with Boo inside himself.
Yeah.
That happened, but that was drawn out.
That
too.
still fucks with my head so much. No pun intended.
Worse yet than that is the whole Kid Buu thing. The Kid Buu thing was like 15 episodes.
Yeah, that was pretty much an arc by itself, because believe it or not, when it was being released in America, it actually was just called the Kid Buu arc, and it actually was like 4 or 5 DVDs long.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah, I'll give you that. That was pretty shoddy. They made up for it though by making it like really pretty as hell, but still.
They could have easily have compressed that into like 4 or 5. Although I'll give them credit for doing one thing. They did incorporate PyCon into that fight, I think, somewhere.
No, they didn't. That was only when it was on Otherworld.
No, at very least in the beginning, because they showed bits where he was fighting Yamcha and Krillin, who were dead. So I think they showed PyCon in there somewhere.
They did, yeah. They had PyCon and that one Greek guy staring him down. But of course, naturally, Kid Buu kind of just one-shotted them.
But so, the problem with DBZ, as we were saying, is that not that they introduce arcs or do things, they just waste your time is the biggest problem they have.
They do pad out a lot of fights, but again, as long as there's actually fighting going on, I don't think it's really that big a problem unless you're doing the Gohan Cell fight, which is where they literally just padded the hell out of it. Lots of flashbacks, lots of beams that just last for like upwards of 10 minutes and all that stuff.
We go for DBZ?
Yeah, I think we're good for DBZ. You got anything to cover for something like One Piece?
I was actually about to get to that. One Piece is the absolute worst when it comes to filler.
Oh, God.
The worst. They don't have arcs. Well, they kind of do. They just don't last long. No, they take the DBZ approach. One thing they started doing roughly 200 episodes in, when they hit the Water 7 and Ines Lobby arc, they started doing something where, instead of what they used to do, where a chapter being equated to an episode, or 2 chapters being equated to an episode, sometimes 3 if they're pushing it, what they decided to do instead is have it be 1 chapter per episode or less.
Whoa.
Sometimes they would have 5-10 pages of a chapter be the entirety of an episode. And they started doing that from Enies Lobby on to where they are now. Enies Lobby is roughly 250-ish episodes in.
That's terrible.
So that's a pretty long way in, and they've been doing that all the way up to episode 630-something where they currently are.
Ew.
I don't mind One Piece's incredibly long length, but if they ran it proportionate to how an anime is supposed to be, or to the manga, they'd maybe be on episode 400 by now, at most, if they did it properly.
Jesus.
But I know why. And again, it's the thing about catching up to the manga itself.
One Piece will be done in 10 years. Hey, I need another 10 years to do this.
He never said it'd be done in 10 years. He just said that when they got to the halfway point, that when they got to an era called the New World, that they were halfway done. See, the problem is a little saga called the New World started on episode 520.
Oh, great.
Or in manga terms, chapter 4 something.
Huh.
Which I don't mind nearly as much, because One Piece is a great series with a great plot with each separate saga. After the Arlong Park saga, but it can sustain that and people love it. But the problem is just that it's so ungodly slow.
Ugh.
Like it's far worse than DBZ, because they'll take a fight that maybe would have been 4 or 5 episodes. Like a prime example being the fight between Luffy and Rob Lucci, what would have been 4, maybe 5 episodes, and draw that out to be about 20.
Huh.
And that's not just because it's just them fighting, it's because they're doing other things in between and adding in things that weren't there. So, it's not just that they're slow, it's that they add crap in there that wasn't there and is absolutely horribly unnecessary. They make fights take way too long, and they make a character take false damage so that they can take a power-up that did not exist, for the fight to only drag out longer for them to get the real power-up they got in that fight much, much later. Yeah. It's pretty bad. The worst example I can think of for this is, and I know people are going to flame me to death with this, is the entirety from the beginning of Impel Down to the end of Marineford. That lasted 60, 70 some odd episodes, and I hated the lot.
That was entirely filler?
No, that's an actual arc, and one of the most important arcs of the entire series. But I just hated that arc. In the manga, it was long, drawn out, and boring by itself. But the anime, oh god, the anime was slow. Jesus fucking Christ, that took that took at least 2009, 2010. That took them until at least 2011.
Huh.
To do that in full, and I just could not bear that.
Ugh.
And I think they actually, and what's worse is that's also one of the darkest and bloodiest arcs of the manga. They censor that to high hell. A character gets a fist through their chest, and there's barely any blood coming out of it in the anime. In the manga, oh no, they are drenched. They are fucking drenched, as they would be with someone completely punching a hole through your chest.
Naturally, yeah.
So they do something of a Kai censoring for that.
Yeah, boy.
Which really takes away from the impact of that moment, because that is by far one of the most important moments in the whole series, and they make it look like, oh, if they just get him back to law in time, they could easily have saved him.
Alright, question.
What?
Is there ever an uncensored version on to have on DVD of that?
I'm gonna go with no, but I don't know.
Alright. I'm talking about One Piece, though.
Take a stab at that.
Talk about One Piece with that.
I know.
Alright, because Kai, I know they do have an uncensored version with the uncensored versions. That's the best way I can put it.
Blood and the swearing and all that, the DVD and the Blu-ray versions.
Yeah, and the best example I can give is I actually did this with the Tsunami version also. I'm just kind of backpacking a little bit, but bear with me. With Gohan, after he got his arm blasted by Cell, there are 2 versions of that effect. One where he's standing up and he's literally dripping blood all over the floor, and it's like you can hear the splatters on the floor too. And one where he's just like he's got a bunch of bruises on his arm and there's no blood.
Well, they changed that from when it was on its 3 p.m. time slot to when it was on its 10 p.m. time slot. So that's a different story. They did the same thing with when Trunks was shot through the chest. completely removed the part. They showed the part where the hole in his chest was bleeding, but they removed the part where he started vomiting blood.
Oh man, they do have a version of Kai where they do have him full on vomiting blood, but that's only if you look online or if you get the actual uncut DVDs.
It's worth it anyways. It's the best version of Z.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But that it's irrelevant. But for One Piece though, they stretch it out, they censor it, they do some stuff that's, ugh. And what's worse is the first arc of the New World. Fishman Island is justifiably the worst, one of, if not the worst, arcs of the entire series. And the anime served to only make that worse. I'll give them credit, they actually made it shorter than the manga was, but they made it worse with how slow it was. They get to DBZ levels with some of how bad it can be. They have a flashback in the middle of that arc that, I shit you not, lasts 11 episodes.
A flashback that lasts 11 episodes. Fuck.
And it's important for character building so you understand what's going on, but it's slow as shit, I swear to God.
Ugh. I think that's one of the reasons why I never really got into the One Piece anime itself, because it just looks like it just stretches on and on.
It is kind of going on forever. The animation and fights are beautiful, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But when they're not fighting, it is the slowest thing ever.
Yeah. I should probably just stick to the manga if I'm gonna really get into the show.
With the exception of specific fights, that's probably the way to go.
Yeah.
Yes. But
Or Funimation dub, either one.
That too. That comes out at a reasonable enough pace to where it's not an issue.
Oh, cool. Wait, they in terms of releases or how they actually edit it?
In terms of actual DVD releases as well as its Toonami airing.
Cool.
But I don't know. I don't really have much else to add.
Yeah, you could be here for literally like 12 hours straight talking about each and every single arc they have in One Piece, but I think we get the gist of it. They paced it out.
I don't mean One Piece. I don't mean just One Piece. I mean series in general. The only one I can think of off the top of my head is Inuyasha, and that's in the sense that they have a shit ton of filler for a series where essentially nothing happens.
Yeah, basically. They've taken one concept that's basically collecting Dragon Balls, and they stretch out for an entire 300, 400 episodes.
Actually, it's not. The original series is 170 episodes-ish, and the addition to it, the final act, is only like 26.
Well, fuck
so the
me.
whole series is less than 200 episodes, but if it was made proper, they could have done it in less than 100 because they have so many episodes, dozens and dozens of episodes that go nowhere. There's maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 arcs that actually matter, and the longest of those arcs is maybe 12, 15 episodes.
Yeah. Personally, for me, I barely know anything about Inuyasha, so I can't really offer any opinions on it, but I have seen like 10 or 20 episodes, and I can confirm this. It does feel like it just drags sometimes.
The problem is that they don't introduce you to all of the main characters in the first arc until at least 15 episodes in to get all 5 members of the crew together.
Yeah.
So it's really slow to get in. And when it's not truly plot important, whatever they're doing is ungodly boring too.
Yeah, that sucks.
Inuyasha has maybe 3 problems. They drag it out incredibly. When they're not fighting, it's incredibly boring. And they have one of the worst romances I've ever seen that is comparable to Twilight. Yeah.
They kind of make that like one of the cruxes of the series. I'm like, you should not make a romance the crux of your series, dude.
That was how it started and how it ended. But I don't blame them for that. I don't blame the woman for making the romance important. It's just that the way she did it was so ungodly stupid.
Yeah.
But that's irrelevant. We can talk about terrible romances in anime another day, and believe me, we probably could.
Yeah. Sakura.
But we don't really have much of anything else to say.
Again, the idea of us discussing filler more applies to shonen anime itself, because that's where the really long stuff really kicks in. As far as everything else is concerned, I could say like maybe the way the original Hellsing is constructed or Cowboy Bebop, those could be considered filler, because you really just Bebop those. You watch the first 2 episodes and then you watch the last one, and that's all your story right there. I just actually got done watching Outlaw Star. I know you know this, but the audience probably doesn't.
Yeah.
And while it does feel like some episodes are kind of just irrelevant, a lot of it actually does feel like it's building up to something, so I can applaud her for that.
It's also not intrusive or annoying.
No.
The ones that are just there for fun are actually fun, so you don't care.
Yeah. It never feels painful, or it never feels like it drags with like the live stuff.
Wait a minute. No, I have a good one. I've been actually been thinking about for a long time.
Oh, really?
The original Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh,
series.
fuck.
There's approximately 3 fillers in that whole 200 episode anime. Well, 4 kind of, but the first 2 are pretty directly.
I'm not sure if
related
you
to
should
the
be
first
watching
one.
the show to begin with.
But the first one is only like 3 episodes, anyways.
Yeah.
The virtual world arc, which was pretty bad, pretty stupid, and its plot twist was pretty underwhelming, or at least pretty underutilized.
Uh huh.
Do you remember what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
I know what you're talking about. They already covered this in Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge, so that's one reason I remember. I also remember someone summoning a Dark Exodia, and I was just like, why are you making an instant win card something else?
You know what's really bad about that is they took that concept and made like 3 different Exodia cards.
There's 3 different ones. God.
And yet, the 3 Egyptian gods are somehow stronger than Exodia. Fuck you, no they're
Nope.
not. You have the card that says you win instantly. Anyways. But so that arc happened, and it was pretty underwhelming, and its plot twist, what could have been really good and really interesting, was incredibly underutilized, and the villain, once he got what he wanted, says, oh my god, what have I done, in literally a matter of 15 seconds.
Splendid.
So that's pretty useless, don't watch it, just skip it. The second arc is something I would consider one of the best filler in all of anime, better than, a lot of actual anime.
Isn't that the one that involves like that circle card that like summons like a magic circle and like corrodes your mind? I actually did like that one, yeah.
Yes. The Seal of Orichalcos and what was that called? Oh yeah, it was called Yu-Gi-Oh! Waking the Dragons. But it was all about a card called the Seal of Orichalcos that, go figure, stole people's souls. Although it wasn't just stealing souls for the hell of it, like Merrick or anyone else was, it was stealing souls for a purpose. The villain, Darts, has been around for not 5,000 years, not 3,000 years, 10,000 years.
Huh.
He gives this card to every one of his minions, and it's awesome because it gives you the ability to play a back row of monsters too, so you can have like 10 instead of only 5. And all your monsters get an additional 500 point boost.
Oh yeah, dude. I remember there's one part of that one fill arc where Yugi actually used the card and like he turned a complete asshole, and then the person he was fighting like somehow made his monsters unbelievably powerful, and that's the first day I realized I think the rules in this game are kind of broken.
The rules have never actually been strictly adhered to.
No.
They're like not ever, not even as far as GX, 5Ds, or Zexal. But so it's really good because it's really interesting, and the plot is really interesting too. The villain is very multi-dimensional. I mean that in more ways than one. The villain Darts has been around for 10,000 years. He is one of the last 3 remaining survivors of the city of Atlantis.
Well, shit.
Yes, we're going that far. We're going to Atlantis.
Better than sticking to Egyptian mythology all the time, I suppose.
Indeed. So, he's from Atlantis, and his power is Orichalcos. It's a magic stone that came from a meteor that hit the Earth that was probably going to destroy it or something. If I had to guess, that'd be the same meteor that took out the dinosaurs and whatnot, but that's not there. Well, 10,000 years, you never really know. But
I think there's a difference between 10,000 years and a few 100 million years.
There was no... Fair enough. You never know what's going on in uncharted places on Earth.
No.
Atlantis in that world was a walled city. Atlantis was actually a floating city. It wasn't just on the water. It was actually a floating city.
It sounds cool and stupid at the same time.
No, it's actually really interesting.
Cool.
But so his plan to save the Earth is kind of like Seymour from Final Fantasy X, but not stupid. I'll save the Earth by destroying it.
Yep.
His plan is to gather 10,000 souls to summon the Leviathan, a giant water snake dragon thing that is probably one of the coolest anime monsters I've ever seen in my entire life.
We need more dragons. That's the idea of
And-
Yu-Gi-Oh.
And it's awesome, and it's cool, and it destroys fucking everything, and it eats like everyone's souls.
Oh, actually, that sounds pretty awesome.
And he almost gets his way too. It creates tornadoes and tsunamis and hurricanes all over the world.
Wow.
Like if it weren't for Yugi Ex Machina, he would have gotten his way.
God cards.
God cards as well just being
Yeah, that would do it. And probably finding another loophole to exploit.
probably. But it's some of the best animation, facial expressions, and whatnot that Yu-Gi-Oh ever got.
Yeah.
And, oh, they got the best ones. Remember those Joey expressions I sent you? Those came from that.
Awesome.
Arc. Oh, some of those in here if you can.
I kind of want to rewatch this arc now because I actually do remember that one being pretty cool.
It really is. It's awesome. All the characters, all the villains, all the minions, they're awesome. They all have their own motivations and reasons for fighting. They're not just random minions. They have characters and depth and personality.
Cool.
They're all likable in one form or another.
Sweet.
It's pretty great. I guarantee you, this is the best season in every Yu-Gi-Oh thing ever. GX, 5Ds, Zexal, R, Arc 5, everything. It is the best writing that Yu-Gi-Oh has ever had.
Shit. Nice.
I rewatched it like 5 times since it first premiered when I was in the 4th grade.
Cool.
Thank you, Hulu. And then they have one filler arc after that, which is kind of done in the same way that the second half of the Zanpakuto Rebellion arc is done in Bleach, where they just tack on an extra 10-15 episodes to it, but it's not boring. Kaiba is opening a theme park, and he wants to commemorate it with a tournament inside the theme park.
I think I remember something about that. Yeah.
So there's like 10-15 episodes of everyone except for Kaiba dueling in there, but someone hacks into his theme park and fucks with it and creates volcanoes and makes the rides go insane and
Creates volcanoes. Damn it, Kaiba.
and the place is practically going to explode or something. So he has to go and stop it by being a badass and flying in on a jetpack.
Basically. Yeah.
So it's not terribly interesting, but the duels themselves are pretty good, and it's a good waste of time if you're looking to have fun.
Sounds alright.
It's pretty good. If you at least want to get back into the Yu-Gi-Oh spirit, watch that rather than watching individual seasons. It's a good waste of time, and it'll get you fairly well back into it. It's pretty fun, at least. If you want something with a really hard-on, heavy plot, you go for Waking the Dragons, the Orichalco saga.
Yeah.
That best anime filler ever.
Yep.
Bar none. Bar
That's a
none.
good way to cap off a podcast. Unless you can think of any other shows I can't.
Thinking. Oh! The worst of the worst. Pokemon entirety of anime.
Pretty much the entire show. I don't think we really need to explain why.
The whole anime.
Yeah.
You know what the worst
What?
is? Of course, it happened in Diamond and Pearl.
Oh god. Wait, are we talking movies or are we just talking the show itself?
The show
Okay.
itself. Ash goes to the 4th or 5th gym leader, whichever is the ghost one. Goes and tries to challenge her the first time. She's not there. She's gone. Takes 30 episodes of a detour to go do whatever. Comes back. He challenges her and he loses. Takes a 40 episode detour to go and do whatever. Comes back a 3rd time and finally beats her after 70 episodes.
Shit.
That is the worst they have ever
No,
got.
that's a shame because I saw the Pokemon movies. And I thought the Gen 4 ones were actually pretty decent.
The movies aren't bad. They're just kind of
They're very hit and miss for me.
The Gen 4 anime was the worst they ever got. That was 300 episodes by itself.
You kidding? I was hearing everyone hates the black and white one.
Black and white one was bad because it was trying to be a reboot.
Good luck with that.
They were fast, at least, if nothing else. They got their entire league done in less than 100
Wow,
episodes.
actually, that's pretty nice.
Which, at least as far as from Gen 2 and onwards is considered, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's quite respectable, actually.
Can't say how they're going to do with X and Y, but I think Ash is already on his 3rd gym.
Yeah, I hear the X and Y is actually turning out to be, like, one of the best seasons so far.
It's hard not to, given everything that the game's introduced.
True. Yeah.
But anyways.
Yep, I'm out of ideas.
Uh,
So in general, if you're gonna
Gentlemen?
do filler, you have to tie it into your show somehow, and you have to make it. You have to introduce characters that are actually interesting, and don't let it drag.
Don't let it last forever. Make it interesting, and make it worth watching. Make it pretty, and make it worth
Oh
it.
yeah, basically, we're not asking for like something that's on par with the source material itself, or something that's like revolutionary. Just make it worth your time. Is basically what it comes down to, and don't just like slice it up with like one episodic things over and over again.
Don't pull an Naruto.
Don't be an 80 episode filler run. That's what killed on Toonami, and that's what will kill your show if you do that.
If you're going for arcs, do Bleach ladder filler, at least.
Yeah.
At most, pull a Yu-Gi-Oh, where your filler is better than the actual series itself.
Or pull Dragon Ball Z with the Otherworld tournament and have your cool characters appear in other aspects of the show you're doing.
Make your character do anything really, just so long as you make it likable. Make it short, make it long, do whatever, so long as it doesn't feel like it's slow or boring.
Pretty much, yeah.
Don't really know what else I have to say for that.
Nope, I don't either.
Alright, that reminds me, once again, what's your preference? An ongoing series or a seasonal? Seasonal gives the time to get more done and perhaps better animation and coloring over time, whereas you're without them for a very long period of time. On the other hand, if you have something that's constant, you have constantly to look forward to each week, even if it does kind of tend to drag.
And if there's no guarantee it's going to be good 1% of the time.
That's true.
As for me, because I'm kind of like tearing away from like the 304 episode runs and just going from like 13 or 26 episode little tidbits that are really like compact and good. I'm kind of leaning more towards seasonal nowadays, but as long as I know they're going to make another season, I'll be good.
Generally speaking.
Yeah, like Pokemon Origins. That's actually a pretty good example. It's really short, but it's concise and it's very good.
Really is.
Yeah, as long as there's going to be a sequel.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think that's going to wrap up for today. I'll catch you guys and what the hell we decide to do next.
See
Later.
ya.